technicallessons.com. Today we're going to go over a professional game between Takemiya Masaki and Cho Chikun, both Japanese professionals. Takemiya Masaki sensei will be playing black. The point of this game, the reason why I chose this game, is because we need to look at the global position, alright? Making good decisions based on every single stone of the board. Alright, some people are very, very good at zooming in and reading out sequences, especially in fighting. Black plays here, white plays here, black blocks this way, white attacks this way. And some people are very good at looking at the entire board and figuring out where all the important spots are and getting to those spots one after the other before their opponent does. In this game we got kind of both things going on, alright? But the main thing is trying to find all the big spots and how to secure your moyo or reduce your opponent's moyo at the right time. Okay, timing is everything in this game. Alright, let's get started. So Takemiya Masaki sensei is black, and he plays one of his favorite openings. His style is called the cosmic style, meaning that he likes to build very large territorial frameworks across the board and invite his opponent to invade him, in which case he'll then attack his opponent. So we have the three link stars opening, the Sandense in Japanese, in which case black makes a influential based territorial framework on the right side of the board. White approaches, perfectly normal. Now, of course, black could just play a one-space slow pincer, alright? There's tons of different ways in which you can answer this move. I like the one-space slow pincer because it invites the invasion, and then I get a nice influential roll towards the outside. But that's just my way of doing things. In this case, black extended, nothing wrong with this move. White slides under. And in the game, black decided to defend the 3-point. Perfectly fine move, absolutely no complaint about it. There's another way to play, though. If you want to emphasize influence, alright, which is what we're doing so far in this game, you could play the lower side. There's no reason to rush to defend this part because it's just territory. If white takes a territory, which is free to do, it's perfectly fine to just block from the top. Alright, if we block from the top like this, we're still emphasizing the center of the territorial framework, and we're pushing white down, which is really what we want to be doing. Alright, so this is still one cohesive strategy. This is just another game. If you like playing like this, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of very complicated variations with this move. If this is too complicated for you, just play something like this. Alright, it's slack, I know, but it's not as complicated. Right, let's go back. Black defends, and then white continues the standard sequence up to here. Alright, the last big point is here. Alright, pretty much star point, stone, my territorial framework. This is the last wing. Make a double wing formation. Alright, white defends his corner. Adds territory here. Black does the same. Alright, we don't want, if we're going to build this territorial framework, we don't want a weak point where our opponent can easily invade, make a living group, and then slowly but surely destroy what we built. Alright, so this is a perfectly fine defensive move. It's not actually slow. It makes perfect sense to buttress what you've already built. White plays here in the game. The idea of this move is we're trying to keep the line, the border of black's territorial framework here, because if we don't, and black gets a move like, say, I don't know, like this, then black's territorial framework, the border lies here as opposed to here. That's not small, alright? So it makes much more sense to try to push back while we can, especially when we still have strength. White could play like this. This is very territorial. This does not put as much pressure on black's territorial framework, and essentially says, I will maintain a certain amount of points throughout the entire game, and I will spend most of my time trying to whittle the points you make here down to just below what I make. In this case, you also could play like this. Alright, black will cap. White will reconnect with his stones. And this is a very, very important move. You must attach here. The reason being is you're trying to block off the bottom side. The bottom side is blocked off. All these three stones work beautifully with these three stones. Alright, so you have one very nice cohesive unit working together to turn this area into possible territory. Don't forget this move. In the game, though, white played this, which is fine. Absolutely no problem. Okay, the corner's open, so we're going to make a group here on the side so that white doesn't build anything this way. White defends. This is also perfectly fine, but if you want to defend like this is cool too. Black decided to play this. Now, it may look a little weird to some people, especially some middle Q level players. Most people know that if you have a stone here, you want to make a base, you make a 2-space jump on the 3rd line to make a base for your stones. In this case, this is bad strategy. Why do you think that is? Pause the video, give it some thought, and we'll get back in a second. Okay, so the reason this is bad strategy is because this group can become easily weak. Let's say white plays here. This group is squeezed now. It does not have the requisite number of points in order to make life. Since that is the case, this group is weak. If this group is weak, we have a weak group next to our territorial framework, and we never ever want that. The reason being is that this group can get attacked. If this group is attacked, we lose control. We lose control about how white attacks us as well. White will attack us in such a way as to safely reduce this area. All right? White's going to use this weak group as a target to reduce this area and to make black's territorial framework smaller, or even to outright destroy it, depending on what happens. This is handing our opponent a target. We don't ever want to do that. This move, on the other hand, is lighter. It puts no emphasis on either stone. Yeah, there's a weakness right here. If white were to play like this, there's a weakness here, but at the same time, if white invades, you can just play on the top, and you can play for the center. You don't have to play to save every stone, and you don't have to play for territory here either. You can simply make a floating group in the center. There's more flexibility. You want flexibility in this case because we want enough flexibility to decide what we're going to do with this group so we don't have to give up anything on this side. Because this is our main strategy. This is where most of our investment is. We don't want to screw that up now. So white will make sure that this group becomes weak later, but again, it's flexible. Now, white could play this now, in which case black could play something like this. And we have a very, very interesting game, because this will be a lot of fighting. White will have to invade at some point, and black will have to invade. There's going to be a very, very difficult center fighting to determine who is going to come out ahead. But white chose not to do that. White instead chose to go for the bottom. White made this exchange first. Then he decided to attach underneath the star point stone, which is basically a classic Sabaki move. Black tries to split the stones apart. White double Hanes. Atari. Okay, and then black will connect here. White needs some eye space now. So he'll force black to come under. And black has to make sure that white is pressed in, does not get access to the center for this group. So now we see that the purpose of this move was basically to give this group something to lean up to. But there was no real necessity to have played this exchange, this for this, so early. So for instance, it could have gone a little bit differently. If we go back to where we were before, let's say white just attaches outright. No preparation moves, just attaches. If black Hanes, white double Hanes still. In this case, black can just connect. White will extend. White's going to get the corner now. Black's corner, he's not going to emphasize that. He's going to emphasize the outside. This is very important. We block white from the outside. Now, white doesn't necessarily come here or here. White should come here first to expand his corner and get the most out of it. This is natural. We've got to block off this side. Comes up. We block. Now we defend. Black Hanes, white lives. Alright? In this case, I think now it's pretty clear why it is that white exchanged this for this. If white were to play like this, then he's completely utterly sealed in the corner. Alright? He doesn't even get this access to this area. Black has access to this area, and this area, and this area. Alright, so black's bigger this way. So that's really kind of the whole point of exchanging this for this at the very beginning. Also, if black cannot play weak here, can't really necessarily play for territory. So if we go back a bit, let's say white exchanges this for this. Then let's say what happens if black Hanes this way. Well, this is very soft on white. White extends. Black attacks the underside so that the white remains as big as possible, but still, this is not very harsh on white. Okay, white can play here, or actually white can play here. It's actually much better shape. If the white plays here, then there's this problem. So white can play here. And then white has pretty much a nice bunker, all right, a nice little shape with which to make eyes. So this is very soft on white. We're not turning this into any big thing. We're just saying, okay, we're going to stick to just this flat area. All right, if we go back to the Z game, all right, we're black hanes, white double hanes. Connect. Extend out. Okay, white got a little bit more territory, a little bit more breathing room. Black got a nice wall on the outside. Alright, now white's kind of thinking to himself, alright, so black has this nice territorial framework. I've got a good chunk of territory here, here, and here. Alright, I don't have weak groups. I don't have groups that are going to immediately become destabilized and are going to be attacked. So where should I go now? Pause the video again. Think about this for a second. So really go for a second problem. Where should white play? What area of the board is most important to white? All right. So in the game, white played this. White tried to attack these two stones. This is a little bit slow. The reason for that is that again, as I said before, these two stones are light. All right. We're not going to emphasize territory. We're not going to emphasize saving either stone. So attacking them just seems kind of weak if we look at the whole board and think that this is actually where the action is, all right? This is where the focal point of their moyos are going to be. So for instance, if white were to play something like this, this would be more consistent with thwarting black's strategy. So for instance, black could try to fight back, black could try to cut white off, but at the same time, white is trying to reduce black from a safe distance. This actually makes much more sense because it takes this area and says it will never turn to black. Black's influence here will never turn to territory here. All right, we're trying to keep black to a certain distance towards the edge of the board. Black might try to attack white by this sequence, in which case we might get something like this, or this, or this, depends on the person's mood. This is okay for white. You can probably fight this out. The center is, it's not so harsh on you because you don't want to group anywhere else. You can just focus on saving this group. So that's one way to play for white. Black could also try this move. This move is a little bit slack though. It's less complicated, but it's slack because this move doesn't put any pressure on the top group. If it doesn't put any pressure on the top group, then I'm perfectly free to defend this group without any repercussions to the top group. So white can just jump, for instance, and just calmly but surely. You don't have to invade. Now, like I understand some people think, look at this area, like, oh, it's so big, I got to invade. You don't have to invade, you just have to reduce. It has to be kept to a certain minimum so that this, and hopefully this area can outweigh it, even if just by 1 point. All right, so it'll take some patience. In the game, though, white play here. And of course, black is not going to respond with something like, I don't know, like this or this. Black's not going to respond to defend this group. Black is going to continue to keep his eye on the global situation and instead play this. Alright, so black decided to expand his moya. Now we can really see the difference, how important this area really was, as opposed to that area. Black could have also done a number of different things. Black could have played this to force white to defend. Play out this sequence. I think most people know this middle game sequence, and then play at this point. So I think his wall will be a little bit better. Some people might disagree with this because they would feel that these moves, now white has a very solid shape. He only has one weakness here, which is basically just this area. If black pushes in, white chares connect, and there's not a lot of weakness here. You have to actually take 2 liberties from these 2 stones for there to be really any object there. So it's not like white has any weaknesses. So if you don't want to make this white group at the top very, very strong, you don't want to make these exchanges. But overall, if you're willing to do that, then you can make a nice framework. Of course, white does not necessarily have to answer like that. Black plays here. White has another move. White can jump out. A lot of people look at this and are like, what the heck is that? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you jump out when he just threatened to cut your stones off? Well, first off, if you don't want black to make a large territorial framework, you just have to play a move to prevent him from doing it. Sure, it's more complicated, and yeah, your roof's going to be split apart, but that doesn't necessarily mean you cannot deal with that afterwards. So, for instance, black, of course, is going to walk through, right? Everyone can see that. He's going to walk right through. White hunts under. Black blocks. Connects. Black must connect, of course. Oops. Actually, black's going to be great for white, right? Connects. White comes under. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, hey, wait a second. White split into two groups. That cannot possibly be good. This sucks, Jonathan. Well, if you're not a good fighter, then yeah, this will kind of suck. I would not recommend this if you're not really good at fighting, but if you like fighting, like you're me, this sort of thing is actually very, you can really deal with it, because these three stones have backup here, alright? So you're not like necessarily as weak as you might be thinking. And as this group has no base, so we're going to attack this group and we're going to run out together into the center. As this group runs out into the center, this side gets smaller, alright? So it's the second that this group actually becomes strong, this side becomes invadable. So that's the entire point of this. This point is to fight it out, to really make black work for this side of the board. Of course, if you can't handle that level of fighting, I would not recommend using this sequence. It could lead to some very, very difficult variations. Alright, if we go back to the game itself, okay, black played like this. And white said to himself, okay, great, I missed the point, I'm not going to play here. So if I play here, which is the weakness of the shape, black's going to just simply block like this and make more center thickness. I get territory, but he gets better center thickness. So this move, the threat of this move is not really all that big. So white decided to come in. It's time to come in. We cannot waylay it any longer. We have to come in and deal with black's territorial framework. There's nothing else we can do. All right? What white actually did in the game was this. He played this forcing move first because he's trying to make sure that this doesn't become anything. This weakness is gone now. Then he played here. Alright, so now we're seeing that black had this nice archipelago of stones. White comes in between, and now black's got to think to himself, alright, do I outright attack this stone? Do I just defend my territory? Do I do the mambo? Like, what the heck do I do from this point on? Alright, we're going to cover that next lecture. Alright, just review the moves we've done so far, look at some of the variations, and really take your time with going over professional games. It takes time to really understand the thought process for each move and look at each variation. But if you get the basic idea of why they do what they do, you can apply that to your own games. And at the very least, you can get a feeling for better shape. Alright, I'll catch you next lecture.